are drawing from a word prompt today, and I just want to say thank you. You guys sent in some really great words, and it was tough to choose, but all said and done, I went with the word layered, which comes to us from Natasha Paints, and you should check out her channel. She does some great painting and also offers some tips and resources. So thank you so much, Natasha, for offering this word for me to draw this week. And so we're going to get started here. First, I sketched it out on a pad, and this is drawing paper. And about time I finished drawing this, I realized that I intended to watercolor it, and it really needed to be on watercolor paper rather than drawing paper. This was just going to curl up and not do well with the watercolor. So after I get it drawn this first time, I stick a piece of carbon paper under it and redraw it onto the watercolor paper. And that was a reference picture. This actually is from my bed. I do like to have lots of covers, so layered is the word to use for the covers on my bed, especially it's winter here. And I live in the southeastern United States, so winter is very mild, but when you're not accustomed to it, you feel like you're in the North Pole or something. So, and I also think about old movies where, you see them with tons and tons of covers on their bed because that's the only way they have to keep warm, and I kind of like that concept. So on my bed there are 5 layers, and you're seeing me paint 2 of them actually right now. That first one that's closest to us is an old quilt that was made by my grandmother or great-grandmother, and maybe both of them because they lived together for many years. And then the one where that bright blue color is and a little bit in front of that, that is a recreation of the same quilt that I made using more neutral colors, and that's the main quilt that's on my bed. We add the one that my grandmother made in the winter to keep extra warm. It's kind of an extra heavy one. And the little squares one, that was made also by my grandmother or great-grandmother. And then above that, we're going to have a knit blanket and then the sheet. So lots of layered pieces on my bed, and I really like to snuggle up. I like the weight of the covers. So we're going to continue to paint this. This is the back side of that front quilt. And again, thank you so much for all of you who sent words for me to use for my word prompt. I'm going to do these a couple of times a month, so I'd like to start fresh each time. So if you would like to leave a one-word suggestion for me to draw or paint from next time, then please do in the comments. Leave me one word, and if you sent in a word last time and you want to stick with that word, if you just let me know that again, that would be much appreciated. I really enjoyed thinking through all these words and what could I do. It was kind of exciting. I like having to push myself just a little bit. I went through many options with this word layered, so I want you to think about that with me for a minute. I mean, think about all of the layered foods: lasagna, cake, baklava, and then in nature, of course, I went straight to the Grand Canyon and any kind of crust of the earth kinds of things. And then architecture, thinking about layers of bricks and stones and stories in a skyscraper. I really had a lot of fun with this word. And even with all those great ideas, I tend to circle back to things that are close to my heart and close to my home. And that's how we ended up with layered being the covers for my bed. And you can see here I've added a piece of fabric on top of the picture. That's because this is the fabric that pillow is actually made of, and I wanted to capture the colors a little more closely. And here I'm trying to capture some of the shadows of one layer on top of the other. I think this is one thing that I do need to work on over time is, perspective and showing depth. I'm still learning about that. In some parts I feel like I did okay, and others I think I could use a little more help. is to define the look of the fabric of each of those pieces in the quilt, and just to make it a little more visually appealing. In some areas I thought the white was a little too stark, so I went in with just the lightest of gray pens, and kind of went over the white areas. I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button if you're enjoying this video with me. And I'd love to have you subscribe. We do lots of fun art projects here a couple of times a week, and it'd be great to have you along as part of our community. Thanks so much. And instead of outlining these in black, I used gray since they're further away in the picture. I thought it'd be a little more subtle. Somewhere along the way with finishing up painting this and editing the video, I remembered that I had talked about doing all these word prompt drawings in that little red leather sketchbook. So I will probably do a smaller rendition of this one to put in there, and I'll post that on Instagram. But I like the larger picture. I think it turned out great. It's a great example of layered. Thank you again, Natasha, for providing my word. Now, YouTube thinks that you would like this video on the left, and I think you might enjoy checking out the video on the right. Thanks so much for joining me today.